tonight is an AMA, so the biggest thing I'd like to say for everyone here is I would love your questions. So when you have some questions, make sure that you have them for us. Put a little hand to do that. I'm going to kickstart us off tonight so that we can make sure that we can get going. But don't be shy. This is an audience interaction event. We'd love to be able to get you involved in this. It's super, super important for us. But guys, on the stage right now, when you introduce yourselves, who have we got here from HP tonight? Or today, this morning, wherever we are?
Guess I'll go first. My name is Gary Poole.
My name is Brianna Havlik, and I'm based in Fort Collins, and I'm also on the software team, on the Omnicept team, and lead that team from a managing perspective.
Hey everyone, I'm Wang, product manager at the AIXR group here at HP.
There we go. Perfect. I was just going to ask if Supersonic, if you're able to mute yourself, just going to hear a bit of echo on there. Otherwise, the team will mute you for you, so that's fine. Guys, you created an awesome piece of hardware here. Could maybe someone just really quickly introduce the hardware? What is it about? What made it unique? What did you guys really love about it? And then we can jump into some questions that I don't know who asked that.
Matt, do you want to? Yeah. Or Henry? Yeah.
Henry. Yeah. So basically, what we wanted to do with the HP Reverb G2 Omnicept edition is take that same great core Reverb G2 experience, super high resolution, super clear lenses, immersive audio, and really all around fantastic PC VR experience. We wanted to provide enterprise customers and developers an additional way to really level their training, simulation, research experience, and other experiences and use cases within that realm by adding an additional level of insight. So we did that through the integration of a whole host of sensors, the eye tracking, so providing that additional level of insight for enterprise developers and customers while keeping to that same great Reverb G2 experience.
Amazing. Guys, what does it take to make a piece of XR hardware? It sounds like you guys have released something really amazing here to the general public. You and I'm just standing here, and I get to reap the benefits of all your hard work. But I'm assuming it's not all just here, let's create a headset and let's launch it. There's probably a lot involved, right?
Yeah. So the really unique part about this headset is the software, I think, that accompanies it, right? That with the software, we have a headset that becomes even more powerful. So the whole Omnicept solution includes the award-winning hardware that Henry was just talking about, as well as an SDK that provides insights into the human condition. And the insight we're most proud of is something called cognitive load. And what that insight does is it's trying to give people an understanding of how busy or how full their brain is at any given time. And we believe this insight allows developers to create more personalized VR experiences and really allows to take VR experiences to the next level. I think, when you're talking about development, the whole development effort was really a great blend of hardware and software development.
Does it take long to create?
We worked on this headset for years. It took many iterations, as well as on the R&D side, we had to do a lot of data collection. So anytime you're using AI or machine learning, you really want to make sure that you have a huge data sample. And so we even had a lot of time spent just doing data collection for our machine learning models for this cognitive load. Even that was a big engineering effort in and of itself.
And then you are asking more specific about the hardware too. And even though I'm a software guy, I'll speak to that. It does take several iterations to find exactly what works well for customers. For example, you could put super high resolution panels in the eyes, but does that work for everybody? Do you have graphics cards that can support it? So there's a balancing act between choosing lenses, choosing eye panels, choosing all the components, making sure they work together, and then from a software side, you also have to support that as well for creating firmware, creating test tools to make sure that the edge cases and all the different parts of the hardware work right. Writing tools to help calibrate cameras, writing tools to test all the components, the IMUs, the heart rate sensors, the eye tracking, all that needs both software and hardware of several iterations to make sure, yes, this is what we want. Yes, this is what we think customers want. So yeah, there's a lot of effort developing just hardware. It doesn't just take just a whole bunch of mechanical engineers or computer engineers. It does take all sorts of side of software and hardware working together to be able to get it to work. And just
yeah, definitely sounds a lot more complicated than just coming up with a headset and just releasing it. A lot of moving parts, I guess. There's a lot of people probably in the audience and also probably watching this later who may be wondering, there's a few different pieces of hardware now on the market when it comes to virtual reality. What's unique about this for you guys in terms of your opinion? And I guess what kind of audience is this for when you talk about this kind of headset as well?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So this is Matt with HP. There's a lot of hardware that's out on the market. Not a lot, well, not really doing what we're doing with bringing all these sensor technology. Also a heart rate sensor, extra cameras and that sort of stuff. What I see customers doing with this a lot, and I have the pleasure of working with lots of them, is research. So not only are developers gravitating towards this to push the limits, push the boundaries of what can be done in VR, but also to the individual user that's in VR, right, and understanding some of those bioanalytics. The research community has really latched onto this as well. So certain higher ed customers are looking at this for various studies, and I've been shocked at how broadly it can be used. But I think that's the other thing too that comes with making a piece of hardware like this is having a community, an XR community that really latches onto the product and is out there evangelizing it in their own companies or own development. That's something that's really helped us quite a bit too. Is not just the partnerships that maybe you see in some of our marketing materials, but partnerships that are just out there because somebody wanted to push the boundaries with XR and they wanted to try this headset and they wanted to bring it into their workflow and see what it's all about. So, big shout out to the community and big thanks for everyone who's definitely who's going out of their way to try new things, courtesy of the SDK that our team has also launched with it.
This headset has a lot of different sensors and different ways to interact with the user and the need to collect data with that. I'm guessing with so many different pieces of sensor and information coming in, it's quite difficult to ensure that the headset caters for so many different people from different backgrounds, races, genders. I'm interested to know about how the team may have gone about working with that.
Yeah, great question. So our team here at HP definitely wants to design the most inclusive headset possible. We know there's we really want everyone to be able to love and use our headset. So that certainly went into our design. One area it went into was the hardware design. And that, for example, as we've mentioned, one of the sensors we have on our headset is the heart rate sensor, and that's located right in the middle of your forehead on the face mask. And when we initially designed it, it worked great. And then we tested it out on more and more types of people. And we found out that for certain populations, it actually the face mask didn't fit as well as we thought. And hence the heart rate sensor wasn't getting as consistent data as we would have liked. So we actually went in and redesigned that face gasket to be more inclusive of different face types, different face shapes, all of those types of features, so that we really get a good experience with the most people possible. We also tried to do this on the software side as well. I mentioned earlier, we did a lot of data collection. That data collection we know is really important to be diverse as well. So we spanned that across four continents, did it in Africa, Asia, of course, other ones as well. And we really just wanted to make a very product that would apply to lots of people in both the software and the hardware space.
Audience, let's give it up for HP's effort here to make sure that this is a super inclusive headset. I think that's really, really important here. That's amazing. Thanks. You can show your emojis. There we go. For those of you who haven't seen this headset, if you've been living under a rock, I thought we could just quickly play the trailer just so that we could show you guys what the headset looks like and what it's like, just before we keep going as well. Okay, so just a reminder, we'll be opening up to some audience questions in just a few minutes. So just remember to use that raise hand function if you've got a question for the dev team here, and also the biz dev and everyone else involved. I wanted to just ask a quick question then around probably what's the coolest thing that you've seen someone use the headset for at the moment, or something that you're most proud of in terms of what people have done with this at the moment.
I'll take that one. We've got a lot of development partners that we work with, and some of them are really pushing the boundaries in healthcare. I'm always a little bit shocked when someone takes our VR headset, which is kind of medical workflow, because it's got sensor technology that they want to understand. And definitely one of the coolest things that I've seen is we do have an AIXR partner that is using this technology to understand Alzheimer's and other cognitive degenerative disorders and be able to interpret those at a much earlier stage in life than standard assessments do today. And they do this, with a wide range of things. Obviously, they're using heart rate, they're using eye tracking, but taking advantage really of that eye tracking, that ocular nerve, to kind of look for things like biomarkers, right? And understand somebody's cognition and really understand how they're, integrate that into a medical workflow. It's kind of mind-boggling. I'm kind of not trying to reveal all that I know about it because it's somewhat confidential, but the work they're doing in that space is really impressive. That's one example. Another really is, even just like Ovation VR, they're doing outstanding things with using our headset for public speaking, like in a setting similar to this, or even outside of VR in a real world setting, but being able to use this technology to not just help with understanding where is somebody looking, are they pausing too much, or not just grabbing what any other headset can grab, but grabbing the ability to grab a heat map of individuals in the audience and tell you, hey, you've stared at, I'm just going to pick on Martin right here. Maybe I've stared at Martin for too long. I need to adjust my gaze to the left side of the room, to the right side of the room. That's really cool technology, and the fact that it's so widely available, so easy to use, is fabulous. So those are just a couple examples. I don't know, anyone else on the team?
Just to tag along with that, Ovation, about a year ago, I had used the Omnicept headset with Ovation as I was getting ready for, I think, a pre-announce or an announcement speech. And just that technology, a combination of Ovation software and our headset, really was a cool application that I liked because it could fit with anyone, right? We all have times we have to do public speaking. And so just helping people gain confidence in things they have to do naturally was really cool.
Just incredibly around a company called Nimbus that is using this technology to up-level the various conditions and the ability to make use of the cognitive load insights that sensors on our headsets provide allows for a deeper understanding of, not just is this person going through the motions of the procedure or not, but do they really understand they're a little deeper into that part of the procedure and work on that part a bit more to understand it to be better all-around technician. And I think that sort of thing, along with the use cases that Brianna and Matt talked about, is exactly what we had in mind when we first envisioned this product.
That's fantastic. Some really amazing use cases there that really go to show that I think of different areas. So I can see there's a few questions. I've got one here from Supersonic. So I was just going to put you on air, Supersonic.
Okay, I have a couple comments about the HP Reverb. On the version 1 model, and then focus on the version 2. This may not be the Omni concept, but this is the HP Reverb G2 that was released. I believe it was November, where they've increased a little bit of the FOV, because the tracking is just not there. I have to be honest with you. The tracking is really lacking on these Windows mixed reality headsets. I'm not just going to pick on the Reverb itself, but the Reverb has been one that's revamped itself after the Samsung Odyssey. And I've been using a gaming rig, Windows mixed reality headset since, I think, the latter part of 2016. So the Windows mixed reality portal itself, I know that's subsidiary to HP, it's lacking and it needs to be brought up to speed, and then the tracking, the FOV, when you start talking $600-700 for a headset that's claiming to be 4K, I find it to be a little bit of a marketing gimmick. It's 2K per eye, a little bit better resolution than the Quest 2. But Quest is doing a lot of things. There's a lot of headsets coming out, so still be tethered to a gaming rig, having to use DPI connections, all these kind of things can be a little bit cumbersome. And I'm just looking at this from a consumer point of view. So I have to look at all the different variables and all the different products coming out, from the PlayStation's new headset to many different things, from Vive to PMax to I'm just looking at this from a consumer point of view, and I just find the tracking to be just so much way better. And I don't understand in 2022 why they haven't increased the tracking, especially with the knuckles or something in that.
So what kind of question would you like to ask? Sorry.
Well, what are they doing to revamp it? I mean, you didn't get what you just gave a big spiel about how great this thing is, and I'm giving you
Okay.
negatives. So can you
So
address
guys,
those
what?
negatives?
Just rephrase the question, just so I get it right. So, guys, just in terms of, from obviously it's very complicated and difficult to make a headset, and lots of things go into it. So, what kind of things go into it for you guys into improving, quality and improving tracking? I think it's probably really interesting to know from that perspective.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a good question. We're talking specifically about the Reverb G2 Omnicept edition, and to be clear, the target audience for this device are enterprise and commercial customers that are looking at these for various training, healthcare, research purposes, and we're constantly getting feedback from these partners as they're trying to integrate their applications along with the Omnicept SDK and of course the headset itself. And there's some feedback that we get around the tracking as well, but on the whole, for these enterprise use cases, I think the real challenge is just making sure that the value of the integration with the sensors is fully communicated out there to the market, and that the overall value of VR is out there for the market. Right? This is a different set of customers than those that are maybe looking to play very intense, high requirement VR games. And so, as the focus of this headset is on the commercial and enterprise side, I think we're looking at focusing the conversation around that.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act too. When you've got a headset that's been extremely popular and for and for something that end of day, we get a lot of different consumer feedback, all of which gets incorporated into what we're building. And having inside out tracking was something that we really wanted to do with this headset, and having the ability to not have to set up base stations and not have to go through all that. Reality is there could be a different setup for gaming that may suit you in kind of a home gaming environment, but certainly in an enterprise environment for use cases around this thing being set up in an office, this thing being set up in a home office, or even being something that's hitting the road and going around with people. Having the lack of those bases and having inside out tracking is something that's a big deal. And you may or may not be aware in the fall of 2021 we did customer feedback into consideration and revamp some features of this headset to make the tracking better, to improve the cable, and even make the gaskets adjustable specifically on the Reverb G2, so that you can adjust your distance between the lenses and your pupils. So yeah, customer feedback is something I know our teams are doing a really good job of considering, taking it into the workflow and doing their best to incorporate those changes where they can. But thank you, Supersonic. Great feedback. We do appreciate it. Certainly appreciate the question.
Great. I've got another question here from Nicely. Nicely, I'm just going to put you on it.
All right. Thank you very much. I just wondered if there were any plans in the works for an HP standalone headset. Is that something that the company is interested in going forward? Something that directly competes with Quest, or any type of standalone headset? Is that something that we can expect? Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, we can't talk about our future plans, especially those that we haven't announced yet. That being said, we do see the adoption of standalone headsets in the market and how much that's really taking off. Especially as we're talking about these enterprise and commercial use cases, a lot of that scale is coming from standalone, and so that's certainly something. And I think a big proof point of that is that recently at Mobile World Congress this year, we did announce the HP Extend XR platform, which is a device and content management service aimed at the management of a lot of the prominent standalone headsets out there in the commercial space. So definitely an area that we're well aware of. And
Fantastic. I have another question here from Silver Cleo. Leo, I put you on there.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yep.
confirm you can hear me, okay. On the subject of tracking, just a little bit more, I'm a user of the Steam tracking, Steam VR, HTC Vive equipment, and also use the full body tracking system. Tracking is very important to me, and I wondered if there'd been any consideration to having, like in some of your products, an optional accessory that could, shall we say, be snapped on over the front of the device that would add Steam tracking, so that you could have the millimeter accurate tracking that you can get from base stations.
I'll talk a little bit. Lead of the AIXR software, we've been looking at a lot of different solutions. Of course, we experiment with all different types of combinations to try to see what works. Getting knuckle support, or even snapping on something, for magically. Just, but we're always investigating those situations, and then because of the size of our XR team and just what bandwidth what we have, just completely depends on what we want, where we focus our need to focus our energy and move on. We'd want to solve all the problems at the same time, right? But unfortunately, we can't. So we see, this worked with this, what this worked with this. Maybe we could provide a customer with this, but currently, right now, no. Unfortunately.
I'm not really sure what the enterprise market exactly, how they prioritize things like that, but it just seems to me like the enterprise people might be a group that would be particularly interested in precise, reliable tracking that just works without any abnormalities. And that has been my experience with properly set up Steam tracking. It just works. And
I think there are some enterprises who are doing, object tracking, but those are more complicated, like one-off systems that are custom to that enterprise. For example, you can think of like police departments, or they want to track guns, or things like that. So there is different tracking solutions, but none that is like a nice clean package like you're suggesting.
Yeah, a clean off-the-shelf package sounds really ideal, really simple in theory. But I'm always impressed, and it's great to hear the types of tracking you're doing. And I'm always impressed with what our development partners do and how creative they get with the solutions they end up deploying in some of those situations. We've got one particularly that's doing something similar with that, where they need very precise tracking for police training, for law enforcement training, first responder, that sort of thing. And that's what's part of what's really amazing about this industry, is how many people are out there doing just incredible things and pushing the limits every day. So great to hear the feedback that it'd be awesome to have a clip-on accessory. I think you're absolutely right. But yeah, nothing to comment on further about plans for that.
I know we've got a quick 30-second video that will actually show some of the hardware as well and software that's involved in it, which we can quickly show Adam.
Introducing HP Omnicept, an intelligent XR platform that completely changes the dynamic of how humans interact with technology. Sensors in the headset monitor muscle movement, heart rate, pupil size, and gaze to capture the levels of brain power exerted. Now, users' natural responses drive their experiences in the moment. By combining sensor data with machine learning, software developers get real-time insights to tailor XR experiences for faster and better outcomes. Across industries, HP Omnicept is powering advanced XR solutions that can adapt to each user. Redefining how we train, improve well-being, create, and collaborate. HP Omnicept powered apps help ensure the capture and transfer of data comply with GDPR and keep user data confidential. Groundbreaking hardware meets transformative software. This is HP Omnicept, a revolution in XR.
I think what's interesting, and I don't know if you guys agree, but definitely from what I get from looking at some of the stuff that you do is the enterprise market is vastly different from the consumer market in terms of the way that things have to be approached, especially when it comes to data and especially when it comes to the kind of tracking and things that we need. I'm just interested to ask another question from myself, which is what was probably the biggest challenge that your team had to face when looking at developing a piece of hardware like this?
I would say it probably has to do with doing this in the middle of the pandemic, right? Trying to develop and test and ship a piece of hardware when everyone is on lockdown and staying at home. It's pretty tough, right? I know on the hardware side, there's a lot of the typical processes that our engineering team and the supply chain and other folks go through in the typical development of a product just weren't possible. I typically, we'll go and spend a lot of time at the factory and be able to validate things on production as they come off the line, and that simply wasn't possible. There's a lot of shipping around of prototypes more than normal, and a lot of more just pictures being shared, video feeds being shared, and things of that nature. Not to mention just the lack of face-to-face collaboration and interaction that our teams usually really benefit from. And I know on the software side for this SDK, given that there is a great amount of data collection involved, getting people to come in to do that was pretty challenging. I don't know, Brianna or Gary, I know you guys were in that effort. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, COVID slowed down our efforts and made certain easy things that should have been easy, like data collection, made them really challenging. Just finding different countries that weren't on lockdown and marketing there. I think another challenge that's true for our company as HP, but all companies in this industry, is really just the speed at which this technology is changing. I know one of earlier was mentioned, right? All the competition that's out there and all this new features, right? HP is constantly trying to invent and keep up with the latest technology, but that's just really challenging for a field that's moving so quickly.
What's the just a reminder to the audience, just to make sure you click that raise hand button if you'd like to ask a question, because then it'll pop up on my little screen and then I know that you want to ask a question. I just wanted to ask as well then, like what is the kind of team that goes into building this, this kind of hardware? Like, how big is it? What kind of people do you have working on it? I think that's probably quite an interesting insight for those of us who sit on the outside on the fence.
Sure. From the engineering side, we're actually fairly lean, right? We have a software team that is mainly, we have multiple sites, and then we have a hardware team that also has multiple sites. A total, less than 100 people, I'd say. And then we also have machine learning teams that really helped us with this specific Omnicept product, right? That they bring some of the intelligence to this headset. And of course we have all the
Yeah,
other
there's lots of
functions?
other functions as well. I mean, from a business development perspective, we've got folks globally. I think what's cool about just how we bring these products to market, how they're developed, is it's a truly global effort. We're working with teams around the globe. It's a global company. We do business so from R&D to software, machine learning, the supply chain, sales. I mean, we're a great company with a global footprint and a sustainable footprint at that. And it's nimble, but it's also very large and has this massive footprint globally when you look at it. And so that's, I mean, from the biz dev perspective, we support all the major regions, and believe we launched this product in 68 countries at first, and we have expanded that dramatically since.
Fascinating. I think it's definitely easy for us once we get a headset to just pop it on and just take all the content and everything for granted. It truly sounds like it's definitely a global effort, which sounds amazing. And to do that during COVID, I couldn't even imagine the amount of steps that have to be involved in such a physical process. We talked obviously about this fact that you guys are targeted the enterprise market in particular for this headset. What for you are the main differences between a consumer market, home consumer market, the market within enterprise as well? I mean, and also it'd probably help for those sitting in the audience to paint a picture of what kind of what the enterprise market kind of looks like as well in terms of businesses.
Yeah, from a kind of go-to-market perspective, I mean, we work with lots of our existing customers that we do have that are buying lots of types of HP equipment. HP is a large company. We sell everything from personal computers to workstations through large format, small format printers. So the enterprise market, when you're designing those products, and I'm sure our engineering teams can speak to that too, but we have a lot of standards that we have to go through, not just from functionality, but different tests we do on the engineering side. But also, there's lots of rules as to how we engage, where we sell, what we sell through commercial versus consumer channels, and it's just a lot to navigate. What really sets it apart, though, I think for our enterprise customers is serviceability. When we position our hardware into these countries, I mentioned that we launched in 68 countries at first, and we've expanded it since then. Considerations include supply chain support. Are we going to have if something breaks on the headset, or if something were to fail, or there was customer-induced damage, are we able to quickly support them? And are we able to have that material to support them in country, have that robust model? So it being truly a global headset and us being a global company, those are some of the things that we take into consideration. Really, comes down to support, spares availability, and even some enterprise customers, not only do that we service the products sell under warranty, sometimes they want to buy spares. I mean, sometimes they want spare cables, spare gaskets, spare controllers. Some of the things that we see is they are putting these products in very mission critical environments, especially for training and simulation, and very high risk training and simulation environments. And so failure, not an option, and downtime is also not an option. So that's kind of what separates it from probably consumer types of products.
No, that's definitely fascinating. And just a reminder to the audience, use that little hands up button. Otherwise, I'm going to ask all of the questions that I have, because I have so many pent up based on this as well.
I'll tag in here for a second, just on your question with consumer versus enterprise. On the Omnicept hardware and software solution in general, we definitely were targeting enterprises. However, we think that as the technology gets more accepted, more common, we think it can easily port over to the consumer side as well. So, for example, I mentioned earlier cognitive load and that insight. There's nothing to prevent a game developer from using an Omnicept headset and developing a game that, if it's a puzzle game, let's say, as you go along your game, your cognitive load is increasing because it's getting harder and harder, and load. And wouldn't it be awesome as a game developer to pop up a hint, right? And so And that hint would say, oh, like, look here, here's the, if it was back on track, they're enjoying your game rather than getting frustrating and giving up. So there is a crossover between enterprise, certainly, and consumer. Just for our sales and enablement, we designed it with a enterprise, big, large customers in mind. However, the technology we see as being useful across consumer and enterprise.
I would
Think of.
go ahead.
Gary.
You talking about crossing over to consumer. My son has dyslexia, and so learning is hard for him. It would be great to see this in an education market where kids would be able to have more than one way of learning material, because it's something simple as just font can really throw off someone with dyslexia. They need multiple feedback from what they're doing. So having like reading a word, having it like in front of them, but then at the same time have the haptics buzz to have them realize, hey, this is, you read from left to right when you're reading English. That helps a lot and helps them found out a word. And then being able to know that they actually have retained the knowledge before everybody in the class goes on to the next section using cognitive load. I think that would be really great, rather than all the students say, yeah, the teacher can actually look and say, yes, absolutely. Everybody has learned the material. We can move on to the next section or identify some kids that need help.
So it's really this idea of using the technology that you've integrated into this for adaptive experiences as well.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to do. We have this hardware, but then we developed a SDK. So HP didn't want to narrow it down to any one industry. So we're hoping that by enabling an SDK, it does open the door for education or gaming or first responders, all these different fields. We wanted to utilize those developers so we could really get a broad range, as opposed to HP developing one application for this headset.
So I can see we've got a question as well here from Luke. I'm just going to put you on air. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, thank you for being here. Sony recently announced that the PlayStation VR was going to have foveated rendering allowed with eye tracking. Can you share any information about what performance increase developers have being able to get by using foveated rendering in the Omnicept?
So I talk a little bit about that. It totally depends on the scene, but I think we do have some foveated rendering plugins for, I think, just the Reverb. It's not just for the Omnicept. And I think we've seen percent increase in performance for frame rates. It's substantial, but I think there are, to, of course, get advantage of that, you need to make sure that the user has the eye tracking on, right, and that it is calibrated. Yeah, it's great, but there's always prerequisites to get it to work. So, hope that answered your question.
I'd also add that our partners at NVIDIA that released some of the foveated rendering that works with our headsets. Particularly VRS, VRWorks. A lot of it focuses not just on performance gains, but then immediately using that additional performance headroom to improve shader rates directly where the user's looking. So it's actually less about lowering the minimum spec bar for PCs and more about, well, how do you drive an even better visual rendering experience than a piece of content? And of course, that sort of thing, the actual visual improvement mileage will vary.
What foveated rendering is and what that actually means to a device's, impact as well.
Yeah, I can. So what foveated rendering is instead of rendering the whole scene with high fidelity, the human eye has great detail directly in front of it. And then we can, and as you get more into peripheral vision, the level of detail of your eye just isn't as good. So if you can do eye tracking, you know exactly where somebody's looking at in the scene. So you can actually have that level of detail high in that portion of the screen, and then more in their peripheral vision, you know, depending on if you're at the top part of your peripheral or to the left or the right, have a certain percentage of less detail. So you probably don't do as much aliasing to do multiple passes over that, or just lower the level of detail. So it does improve. You think with trying to analyze that with eye tracking and trying to predict that, you'd get lower, but it does end up in the long run having much better performance.
Yeah, so eye tracking doesn't just have to be used for, I guess, like tracking like an object within an experience, but actually just for even just enhancing the performance of an experience as well. Fantastic. So obviously we can't talk about the future in particular of the roadmap for HP in particular, but given that we've got such varied experts in the room here with such varied backgrounds, what is the ideal headset for you in terms of your minds, or where do you see it in 5-10 years in terms of this technology? And if you were having to create something in 5-10 years, what would that perfect, most ideal headset consist of?
Oh man, that's a heady question, right? I think one of the things that I'm in particular really interested in is the state of optics and displays for VR. Of course, today we've been mostly using the same technology since the first generation headsets. For now lenses, we've upped the resolution, of course, drastically. We've improved clarity of those lenses within this technology quite a bit. But I think there are various lens technologies coming down the pipeline that are going to enable not just clearer experiences, higher resolution, better, more dynamic colors and brightnesses, but also, maybe more importantly, it's going to reduce the form factor of VR. I think I'm talking to a group of people here that spend a lot of time in VR, and so I think one of the most critical things for our industry is how do we get people to comfortably be able to be in VR for longer, especially non-native, we'll say, VR users who aren't really used to it. That they can put on the headset and they can say, hey, this is pretty comfortable. I'm good being in here for, the dream would be like hours at a time potentially, or whatever it is that they accomplish. And that's when I think we'll really see some of the use cases in VR that have sort of been explored but maybe not fully adopted really start to take off.
I'll probably extend this question to all of you guys, actually.
Yeah.
With you, Matt, as well, and also Brianna and Gary.
Sure. I think, along with Henry's lines, I think form factor is going to be huge in the future, whether that's lighter headsets, certainly, cableless headsets, but even, talking way down the future, there's like those contact lenses. So are there certain contact lenses or something like that you can switch on to VR mode, and then it's, there's nothing even on your head at all? That'd be pretty cool. I think ultimately in VR, the benefit is the truly immersive experience. So whatever that headset looks like, I think it needs to be able to block out the external world while still allowing you to get senses from the internal world, so you don't get spooked when your dog comes into the room or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say form factor's key, but how did that go anywhere thing? If I'm looking like way out in the future, I think you hit on it with like contact lenses, but there's something that becomes part of me as much as my keys or my wallet or my cell phone. They kind of leave the house with me, or they even go into the next room with me. I think that's kind of, if I had to dream something up, it'd be in that direction where it's there when you want it all the time, and it's maybe as simple as like a watch. You just put it on, you wear it. You may even, forget to take it off because you hardly notice it's there.
Yeah, for me, just love sharing it with my family, my friends, especially people that say, I've never done it. Oh gosh, you gotta come over and play. But the perfect headset for me would probably be one that just doesn't fit the perfect. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, not everybody has perfect vision. Some people have lazy eyes. Some people only have one limb. I guess my perfect VR headset would be one that would just be able to adapt to many different disabilities, just so I get as many of my friends and family together so we could just enjoy the experience together. Some people don't like to be closed off, and I would just, my perfect headset would just be able to accommodate for all of that.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that insight. Okay, so unless anyone has one final question that I can squeeze in here, what I wanted to just do is, if you do, raise that hand super quickly, because you've only got 1 minute to ask it. Is just end with, I guess, is there anything final that, if someone here is interested in getting involved in the industry, getting involved with HP, or even just, starting their career in this space, or interested in developing with hardware and things like that, what would your advice be to them?
My advice would be try not to get intimidated, just because I think a lot of us are new, in the last few years to this space, and it's all evolving so quickly. There's a ton of information out there, but the whole community seems pretty nice. I think we're all willing to help bring each other up. I love watching YouTube reviews of how things work and new technology. And, I think there's a ton of just different internet resources out there to bring anyone new up to speed. And so I just say, dive right in and experience it.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, Brianna, that, being intimidated, that I think a lot of people might have been in the industry for, a decent amount of time, or even a super long amount of time. At the end of the day, things are evolving so fast that at whatever point you jump in, the technology is going to be changing such that, the rest of the industry is effectively just as new to it as you are, in a sense. Right. And so I think keeping that in the back of your mind as you go into things is really going to be an outlook that definitely will.
Yep. I agree with all that. And I think that because it's also new, right? Everybody is just trying to coordinate to make standards, trying to coordinate to help everybody out to try to create lots of content to adapt more adaptability to virtual reality, augmented reality, XR. You can pretty much find help everywhere. It's all companies. HP gets help from a lot of different companies, and HP helps other companies as well. And we just find that everybody is just looking to just help each other out, just try to move the technology forward. So if you're looking to get in, just get on and just pick one piece, because the community is just awesome for development and hardware, just trying to push the technology forward so that we can have cooler things in VR. So
yeah, I'd say, that the background of someone maybe trying to pursue a career in the XR industry, you don't have to be, as Henry mentioned, the technology is moving so quick. You don't have to be an XR expert or, even from technology, right? There's so many developers I work with, so many different customers I work with so many diverse backgrounds, and their focus is oftentimes content or the curriculum or the standards they're writing training applications to. It may have very little to do with how much they know about lens technology or tracking systems or computers or what it takes to power, different devices. So I would say, get out there, get plugged into those communities, and don't be afraid of getting VR. I mean, you're here, so you know that. But anyone watching this on YouTube or anyone who's trying to dabble, I would say the industry is growing at a very rapid rate, and it feels like every year it's new tech. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So I'm just going to open up the stage in just a minute so that everyone here can come up and take a photo of us. So just stick around just in a moment. I'm going to do that. But I just want to take a moment just to thank the guys from HP here for joining us. And thank you so much. A big round of applause for everyone here up on stage. Thanks for the effort and work that obviously goes into, a lot of hard work that goes into making hardware for VR. So thank you so much for that. And just a reminder as well is that our VR Awards is a physical event again this year. So we'll be in London for a red carpet ceremony. Our nominations are open. So if you're a game developer or if you're creating experiences, then you can actually nominate for the VR Awards, and would love to see those through. Each year we get about 300 different nominations across the board, really everything from hardware through to healthcare through to games. So it's really, really fantastic about that. And we look forward to welcoming people in person to the VR Awards again this year to feel that. So thanks for that. So let's just turn off the stage blocker. Everyone is welcome to, where is it? Come up on stage. There we go. And let's take a photo, group photo. Everyone come up. Come on. There we go. Don't be shy. Yeah, let's all get in. You're going to have to use the stairs or teleport up. There we go. Cool. Great. I'll let Lisa go around, take a photo of us. There we go. Cool. Okay. Everyone in? Okay, perfect. So let's see those emojis. Let's go with all those emojis. There we go.